said that travel is the best way to learn and experience is the best teacher. Standing true to this philosophy, the training at Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy emphasizes on touring and teaching. The Hill and Mountain Tracts tour for the 21-23 course of IFS probationers was held from 15th of May to 1st of June 2022. For tour Group B, the tour began with a long bus journey from the academy, ending in a hotel nestled among the Devdar forest of Kufri, Himachal Pradesh. When foresters are on tour, the day begins with a sumptuous breakfast, as every outing requires a walk, trek or hike. Here too, the day began officially with the visit to the Cheer Pheasant Conservation Breeding Center in Khajjiar, where we were taught the need for conservation breeding and the methods employed therein. The trip to Shimla Water Catchment Wildlife Sanctuary was made more exciting as we rode through the rain on an open flatbed truck before reaching the beautiful Seog Rest House. Here, Chief Wildlife Warden Himachal Pradesh held a discussion on various topics related to wildlife management, human-wildlife conflict, etc., exhorting the probationers to look beyond timber as the main forest produce and focus instead on water and other ecosystem services. An early morning trip to the Himalayan National Park at Kufri before the crowds converged was an experience in itself. As we learned zoo management, we were introduced to the various objectives of zoos and their benefits. It ended with a presentation in the newly constructed 3D theatre. And HOF, Himachal Pradesh, interacted with us, discussing the various initiatives and successes of the Himachal Pradesh Forest Department and the latest challenges to foresters within the states. He inspired us to work and become the new generation of forest officers that will take on the most serious challenges of the 21st century head-on. From the winding roads of Himachal, we set sights for the plains of Punjab, reaching the district of Hoshiarpur just as the sun dipped below the horizon. A good initiative taken up during the tour was Say No to Plastic Bottles, wherein we carried 20-litre cans to refill our bottles throughout the trip, reducing usage by nearly 1,500 1-litre plastic bottles. Kudos to the Nature and Sustainability Club at IGNFL. The day in Hoshiarpur was quite happening. It began with a talk on the uniqueness of forestry in Punjab, agroforestry practices and ecotourism. This was followed by a visit to an agroforestry plantation and interaction with the farmer, where we also learned that carbon credits are provided to farmers for growing trees on their fields. Our next stop was the Century Plywood Factory, where we saw the process of plywood manufacture. Proximity to the foothills makes Hoshiarpur a perfect candidate for increased soil erosion. To make water walk and not run, several structures have been built, including retaining walls using gabion, concrete check dams, among others. These help reduce the erosional losses to agriculture and forest lands adjoining the numerous streams. A visit and interaction with SHGs marked a post-lunch session, and the day culminated in an exhilarating ride on the back of an open jeep through some off-road terrain leading to the beautiful Thana Jungle Lodge beside the Thana Dam and Reservoir. After a day in the sweltering heat of the Punjab plains, it was time to head back to the cool hills of Himachal. While some of us relaxed during the ride, others worked on their language skills, aiming to hit the ground running when they reached their respective cadres. The next stop was Khajiyar, located in Chamba, which is also called the mini Switzerland of India. It is famous for being a unique interface of the three ecosystems: lake, grassland, and forest. After a brief interaction on the management of a lentic ecosystem with the pressures of tourism, we set off for the Kalatop Forest Rest House, where we were welcomed with the traditional dham of Himachal. The highlight of the day was a 12-kilometer long trek from Dayankund to Jodh that traversed meadows and scattered forests. The breathtaking sights made the trek worth every effort, and we were blessed with beautiful weather all along. From the hills, we shifted to the picturesque Kangra Valley. On the way, the adventure junkies went paragliding while the rest enjoyed lunch. Our next halt was in Palampur, between the famed tea gardens. Here, we visited more soil and water conservation works with the potential for generating ecotourism. This was followed by a demonstration of the cut rootstock or CRS method for lantana removal, a weed that is a menace countrywide. Next, we shifted to the Forest Department's office in Dharamshala, where we were given a brief of the Himachal Pradesh Forest Ecosystems Climate Proofing Project funded by KFW. The evening was spent exploring the land of the Tibetan Buddhists in Dharamshala and its sister town of McLeodganj. The next morning began with a visit to Saurabh Van Vihar, named in the memory of the Kargil martyr, Lieutenant Saurabh Kalia, a native of Palampur. This park was recently rebuilt after severe destruction due to floods in the new Khad flowing alongside. Our next halt was at CSIR Institute of Himalayan Bioresource Technology, where we were exposed to the work in tissue culture and bamboo by the institute. drive from Palampur to Manali traversed the lush green hillsides as we also crossed the iconic IIT Mandi campus on the way. Unfortunately, we were stuck in a traffic jam and several of us volunteered to walk nearly 3 kilometers along the road before we were picked up by vehicles arranged by the Parvati division. After a long ordeal, we finally had our lunch and tea with DFO Parvati division at nearly 6 pm. With the night's halt at Manali, we hit the road again, taking the iconic Atal Tunnel after a brief stop at Solang Valley to reach Lahore. Crossed several army convoys on the route and were fortunate to witness the confluence of the Chandra and the Bhaga rivers that form the headwaters of the mighty Chenab. The drive ended at the next night's halt at Jispa, located at a height of nearly 3200 meters, allowing us to acclimatize before the journey to Leh. An early morning start was necessary as we had to traverse nearly 360 kilometers from Jispa to Leh. On the way, we crossed several landmarks of the quintessential Ladakh road trip such as Surajtal, Gata Loops, More Plains and of course the four passes in order: Baralachala, Nakila, Lachungla and Taglangla, of which Nakila is at the lowest altitude among the four at 4,740 meters, with Taglangla being the highest at 5,328 meters. Needless to say, this is the finest scenery in the entire country that you can get on a road trip. So, sit back and enjoy. next day formed the second day in the series of early morning starts as we began our ascent to Changla, located at 5,391 meters. Here, a small traffic jam on the snow-covered road exposed us to a longer duration in the low-oxygen environment, leaving us gasping and with headaches. We also witnessed the debris of army vehicles that had fallen in the past few months, leaving no survivors in this harsh environment. Traversed the Changthang Wildlife Sanctuary to reach the beautiful Pangong So that has been made famous by the movie Three Idiots. It is a magnificent sight to behold, and we realized that each scenery in Ladakh was more beautiful than the last. As the last rays of the sun streaked across the Leh Valley, we rushed to visit the Shea Palace, the old capital of the upper Ladakh region, soaking in the mesmerizing views of the valley and the Indus River below. The last day in Ladakh was another treat as we drove up to Khajjiar, a pass that held the distinction of being the highest motorable road for quite some time before it was toppled by Umlingla. The Nubra valley beyond the pass was a different sight altogether, nestled between the Zanskar and the Karakoram ranges. Here we visited a nursery site of the Ladakh Forest Department and were shown the hardships of working in such a harsh environment firsthand. This was followed by a visit to the sand dunes at Hundur, where several of us got to ride the double-humped Bactrian camels. The monastery at Disket sits perched on the hillside with a splendid view of the valley and houses the largest statue of the Buddha in the region. The day ended with a wonderful performance of Ladakhi culture from various parts of the Union Territory, leaving us all spellbound with the beautiful costumes and music. And so, it was time to bid adieu to Ladakh. Our visit in Punjab began with a visit to the MC Chhatbir Zoo, a large zoo, allowing us to compare the management, enclosures, diversity of wildlife, and other innovative measures such as the dinosaur enclosure, the walk-in aviary, and the lion and deer safaris in the zoo with our earlier experiences. It was the finest zoo that we had visited so far. visit was followed by an interaction with PCCF and HOF Punjab in the unique forest complex at SAS Nagar. We visited the Nature Interpretation Center at the Sukhna Wildlife Sanctuary in Chandigarh. Here, we were given insights into using the provisions of the GFR to create better projects so as to increase public footfall. We also saw the soil and moisture conservation works taken to protect the Sukhna Lake from siltation all along the sanctuary. This was followed by a visit to a unique park called the Butterfly Park that had been established to raise awareness about the important role of the butterflies in our ecosystem. Next was another element in urban forestry called Nagar Van or City Forest that had various parts: Navgraha Vatika, Rashi Van, Nakshatra Van, walk-in aviary with exotic birds, among others. Our final day began with a visit to the Vulture Conservation Breeding Center at Pinjore, run by BNHS. Here, we could compare the conservation breeding practices of the cheer pheasant to that of the vulture and see the innovative techniques deployed therein. Though the tour had come to an end, yet we had left a bit of our heart in all the places that we had visited. We were grateful for the exposure that we had received that would surely help us in our careers ahead.